homicides. In this video, we are going to discuss the law relating to homicides. We shall use the laws of Uganda, but if you're watching from any different common law jurisdiction, you can relate to your laws. We shall define what homicides are. We shall give the fundamental legal principles governing homicides. We shall classify the homicides into the fatal and non-fatal homicides. And for students, Council will give you the technicalities and how to handle homicides when they are set in exams. Council, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I was once your student, and indeed, you are one of those ones who can deliver the message. I beg you give a word to our viewers and we start off.
I'm Ronald Mkundane. I'm a practicing advocate. I work with the trust law advocates, and also I'm a lecturer at KIU, assistant lecturer at KIU, and the host, remember him, was one of my best students.
Thank you very much, Council. Today we have hosted an examiner, a lecturer, and an advocate. So if you're watching, this is somehow special for you. I urge you to be very careful and keen. So, Council, if a student hears about the word homicide, what should they perceive?
Homicides, in simple terms, it means where a human being kills a human being. So whenever you hear about the word homicides, that should come into your mind, that a human being has killed a human being. Not every death, in simple terms, is termed as a homicide. I think you agree with that.
Yes.
Yes. So, in simple terms, whenever a person dies and it is another person who has killed that victim or the dead person, we term it as homicides. However, when you go deeply into what homicides are, specifically we have two categories. The first category, it is justifiable homicides, or what we call lawful homicides. Another person might say causing death which can be excused by the law. Justifiable homicides or justified homicides. Another category in that line, it is called unlawful homicides or unjustifiable homicides. Council refer to them as fatal
Homicides.
Why? Whenever you take someone's life illegally, it is referred to as unlawful homicides. Under that, we have several examples, or you can call them types. The word type and the word categories in this video has been used interchangeably, but we don't want you to lose the track. Now, if we can concentrate on justifiable homicides at first.
Yes.
From the definition of justifiable homicides, I've said that it is a killing which happens where a human kills a human, but the law excuses it in one way or the other.
Yes.
Types of justifiable homicides, or what we can call categories of justifiable homicides. We have a number. If I can list the first one, we all know it. It is called mercy killing or painless death. Some people call it death by way of medical reasons. A person has spent in coma for about 2 years. And maybe the family agrees with the doctor after signing consent documents and let us relieve him.
Yes.
Let him or her go to rest. It is painless. You understand? Mass killing. In I think in a professional medical language, sometimes they call it euthanasia. Now, another type of lawful homicides you can look out for, it has happened within Uganda, we have seen it. One time you go on streets rioting, maybe the government wants to suppress such a riot. Policemen during that rioting, stray bullets are fired, and out of the blue, a person dies. Understood? So at the end of the day, a policeman is not justified to kill another person. However, during the suppression of riot, we don't know what might happen. The forces.
Yes.
Maybe as he's shooting, his hands is on the trigger. At the end of the day, stray bullets catches the person and the person dies. So that is death caused by a human being, but in law it is justifiable.
Yes.
Yes. Another type of justifiable homicide which we can look at is escaping from prison. Escaping from prison or prison escapers, it happens in that the law forbids killing, isn't it? However, if you are in a lawful custody, say Luzira, or any other gazetted lawful custody, and you want to flee, you want to run away, they give you warning shots.
Yes.
People, especially guards on tower, they give you warning shot. They shoot twice. The moment you refuse to surrender, to put your hands up, a person is justified to take your life.
Yes.
So that is another category or another type of justifiable homicide. A person is in custody, then he tries to escape or running away. At the end of the day, he's shot. Nobody will question that. Yes. Also, we have seen some instances, but though it is questionable and it requires a lot of engagement with evidence. This one is when a police officer is arresting someone, but a person resists arrest. We have seen such killings, and the person or an officer will say, he was taking away my gun. So in that instance, if a person takes away your gun, he might shoot more than
you do.
you understand? So another person will say, I shot them because someone was taking my gun. You understand? Now, there comes another justifiable homicide. In fundamentals, if you remember very well, it was one of the defenses. It is referred to as self-defense. But that one also calls for more analysis and the assessment of the evidence available.
Yes.
Yes, because Mr. Hamza, when you attack me with a knife, you are in the distance, and I get a gun and I shoot you down and you are dead. Huh?
Yes.
The question would be, did the force used in repelling the force of the attacker, is it proportionate? The moment it is not proportionate, I'm telling you, the defense will not be standing. However, yes, it will not be available. However, in instances where we can relate and say that the defense of repelling the attack is quite proportionate, if the court can sanction it due to the evidence produced, at the end of the day, a person would be exonerated from the killing. Therefore, it will become a justifiable homicide. Those few and other types or categories of justifiable homicides, maybe you can do more reading about that if you're a student and you're watching this video. So you are encouraged, as the host said, to listen and do more research. Yes.
Thank you very much, Council, for such a quality discussion on the lawful homicides.
Yes.
What I've perceived is that you talked about the resist of arrest, the medical reasons, or the mass killing.
Yes.
You have talked about self-defense, but with reasonable force. If you use unreasonable force, it will not work.
Of course, of course.
So we are now eager to learn the unjustifiable, all the unlawful homicides.
Unlawful homicides.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. In this session, as the host said, we have two types of homicides. We have internalized part. I will not say it is exhaustive in nature on the part of lawful homicides. Now let us look at the unlawful homicides. Unlawful, it means that it is not legally acceptable. Therefore, it is unjustified killing. So unjustified killing relates to what we refer to as unlawful homicides. No person in law is allowed to take the life of the other person.
Article 22.
Article 22 of the Constitution.
Yes.
You are not allowed. Even though a person goes to court and is tried and is convicted to death, as a death penalty in murder cases, rape cases, and aggravated development cases, as we shall see further.
Yes.
The Supreme Court has to consent to review the judgment of the High Court,
Yes.
which where a person has been sentenced to death. You understand? So it means that really a person cannot just be killed by another person, even though it was by the verdict of the court. It isn't. You understand? Just that some people make a lot of mistakes. Whenever we are reading cases, people read those cases partially. I remember in our class we talked about something of whether death penalty is still
A penalty, a punishment.
A punishment in Uganda.
Yes.
Can the Ugandan courts pass it? Some of the students said yes, some of them said no, others said I don't know.
Yes.
But luckily enough, we have that case. It is contested. Some people say in that case of Susan Chugula and the 416 others versus Attorney General, the court held that the death penalty is no longer a good sentence or is no longer applicable in Uganda.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, if you read that judgment critically, death penalty was never eroded or removed or quashed from the Ugandan laws. It is still applicable. There is an international protocol. It's called CCPR. In that protocol, it engages and it asks all member states who are signatory to it in international law to remove death penalty as a valid sentence in their laws. However, in Uganda, a commission, it's called, it is a commission of Mr. Council Sempebwa. It's called the Sempebwa Commission. They made a survey and asked Ugandans, if someone kills your family member,
Yes.
would you want them not to be killed, or would killing them serve justice? Ugandans refused. Many of them, that commission had a report that Ugandans are still standing with the death penalty. They refused to remove it.
Yes.
However, in that case, the court stated that if a person has been sentenced to death and they are put on death row, because if you are sentenced to death, you go to the maximum prison, either Luzira, then you are there. You wait for your judgment day of the day you will be executed. Understood? Yes. Now, if you spend more than 3 years without being executed, the court ruled that the death penalty now reverses to life for imprisonment. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
So, going deeper into that, I just wanted to analyze death penalty also, or death, as it is, if we can call it death ordered by court, because during execution, if a person is executed, it goes back to the other category of lawful homicide. You understand? Yes. However, after understanding that, counsel also wish to comment on something called mob justice.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
If you find someone stealing your commodities, the law is very clear under Article 28, Clause 3A of the Constitution, that a person is presumed innocent. You understand?
Yes.
Now, the moment you take the laws in your hands as a group and you kill that one person, you become the killers, you become the murderers.
Yes.
You understand? So, it is quite important to note that you are not allowed to kill another person. So, any killing of another person which does not fall under the other category we have seen, it becomes unlawful homicides. Here we have a number. Number one, which we all know, is called murder. What is murder?
Yes.
Murder. Murder is an offense, what we refer to as capital offense. We shall come to it later. Let me list another one. Another one we have, you can call it infanticide. Infanticide, we shall come back and explain it.
Yes.
Another one we call it suicide. Now, let us drive this point back home. You see, you have your life, but the government has a say on your life.
Yes.
Did you know that if you try to take your life and you do not succeed, it becomes a crime? That is suicide. But however, there is also this other segment. That segment is called suicide pact. What is a suicide pact? Two people engages and decide to take their own lives. If one of them survives, that person will be charged with the suicide pact. Yes. You understand? Yeah. So basically, counsel, you say that we have to go back into the elements.
Yeah. So what I beg counsel, do these unlawful homicides have some elements or ingredients in common? And what is an element? What is an ingredient? Yes.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Now, to address that, if I refer you back to our class,
yes,
or fundamentals of criminal law, there is a principle. That principle is called principle of legality.
Yes.
Under principle of legality, it supposes that where a person commits an act, but on that due day, that act was never defined anywhere to constitute an offense, that person can never be charged with such
an
act or that act.
Yes.
And then also it guards against retrospective effect of criminal law. Now, principle of legality, in simple terms, is provided under Article 28, Clause 7, clause 8, and the clause 12.
Yes.
If I can break it down, clause 7 defines the offense. What is an offense? An offense is an act or wrong which is against the state.
Yes.
Anything you do and you think the police will come for you, it is an offense. So it is really important that for something to constitute an offense, it has to be defined under the law.
Yes.
So under clause 7 of Article 28 of the Constitution of 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, it is stipulated that the offense must be defined. It must be defined. So every offense in Uganda must be defined. From the definition of an offense, that's where we get the elements of the crime.
Yes.
Because without defining the offense, it is imperative that you would not know the scope of that offense or what are the limits. You understand?
Yes.
So that means it is imperative if a person is discussing anything to do with elements of a crime to bring out that Article 28, Clause 7, which defines the offense.
Yes.
Then Clause 8 defines the penalty.
Yes.
Because the same says that if a person cannot be given a harsh or a harsh penalty more than what is prescribed under the law.
Yes.
You understand? And you will tell me in future, if you look into these other laws, especially the penal code and other statutory offenses,
Yes.
every offense, it is defined, and like it or not, its penalty must be prescribed either in the last subsection of that section which introduces or which defines the offense. So it is imperative that the offense must be defined and its penalty must be prescribed. Yes. Therefore, no court can ever give you a harsh sentence more than what is prescribed.
Yes.
Yes, we have seen that case of Salvatore Abuki versus Attorney General, yes. Constitutional petition case. It emanated from a Witchcraft Act. Of course, Abuki and another were found guilty because of committing witchcraft. Now, the problem came when the court passed a sentence of banishment. Looking under the law, which defines witchcraft, the punishment of banishment was never provided. So this man went to Constitutional Court, and the punishment, which was not prescribed under the law, or which was more harsh, more than those punishments which were prescribed, was overturned and made any constitution. Understand? Then the last clause 12, talks more about contempt of court. So I want you to drive this point back home, that even though all offenses must be defined and their penalties prescribed, a person can be against the law because of contemptuous acts. What is a contemptuous act? Something which attacks the sacred of the court. Something which is against the court's decency.
Yes.
One way or the other. We have seen cases. I will give you a case of our colleague, Aaron Chiza.
Yeah, Aaron Chiza. I remember.
You remember it?
We discussed it. We discussed about it so much when it is still burning.
Yeah.
We were still your students, so.
So yeah. You understand. So out of the blue, because he wanted to sit somewhere where he was supposed to sit, but the court officers refused him. After banging the table, our colleague was found guilty of contempt of court. It's absurd, but that is the law.
Yes.
You understand? So, if I refer back to the elements of these unlawful homicides. That background is keen.
Yes.
That you cannot just bump in that murder must have marital fault, killing, death, and what, without knowing why those elements exist.
Yes.
Those elements are not just put into the definition sections of the penal code section which defines murder. However, it emanates from the grand norm,
Yes.
the constitution. You understand? Now, let me first handle murder. I will not go deep. Murder, it happens that someone kills another person with the malice aforethought. Now, for new students, especially when you hear the word malice aforethought, it might cause a lot of trouble to understand. Headache. That's why normally in my classes I refer.
Actually, I used to think it was written somehow badly. Like it was.
I think it can be a witness that normally in our classes we try to break these points into understandable particles. Yes. Now, for me, if I'm on a BB, I would split that word malice aforethought into two parts. Yes. The first part is malice. The other one, aforethought. What is malice? Malice refers to ill intention. You intend to cause something maliciously. Malice. Aforethought. Something you have thought of, but which is bad. It is ill. Malice aforethought. And that is the part of mens rea. It takes us back to the definition of a crime.
Yeah.
That a crime must have at least two elements. Mens rea and the actus reus. Where mens rea is the mental intention, then actus reus is the act which
causes the act.
The
physical act.
The physical act which causes the forbidden thing. Yes. You understand? Now, one of the major elements, we have discussed it, of murder is when another person with malice aforethought takes the life of the other person. Another element from the definition itself,
yes,
death comes in.
Yes.
What is death? When a person is really dead. I know in your evidence classes you have covered something about collaborations and other things.
Yes.
For us, we normally say in practice that in a murder case, the person who really knows what happened, it is the accused person and the dead body. You understand? Yes. So it is tricky. So that means in murder, there must be malice aforethought as the major mental element. There must be death.
Yes. So I'm worried now. It is the accused and the dead person. And the accused cannot say, I killed with malice aforethought.
I was killed by malice aforethought.
Now, how do we find out that indeed he killed with malice aforethought?
Yeah, I think that will require another engagement.
Yes.
We go into evidence law, especially about what we call circumstantial evidence. Yes. And the collaboration. Yes. Because at the end of the day, if the people who know the facts, what really happened, it is the accused person and the
dead person.
And the dead person, you cannot tell.
Both of them cannot talk.
Yes, another one is defending his life. The other one is dead.
Yes.
You understand? So that one requires for another, I think, session.
Yes.
To assess how circumstantial evidence and collaboration help to gather the facts in order to reach a final verdict.
Yes.
Another component of death, another component of murder, or what you can call element.
Yes.
Sometimes we call them constituents.
Ingredients.
Or ingredients. Yes. Of murder. After looking at malice aforethought, there is death. Then the major one, as others can come in, is participation.
Yes.
There's that case which we looked at in the class, Sechitoreko versus Uganda.
Yes.
That case supposes that in burden of proof, a court must not only prove that death occurred, because we are seeing the body.
Yes.
But the court stressed the point and said that the prosecution must not only prove that death occurred, but it must also prove that it is really the accused person who committed the death. Participation. And I'm telling you, most of appeals in practice are based on that one element.
Yes.
Or ingredient. You can prove all other elements. Manifest fault, you can prove it. You can prove death because you have a death certificate, you have a postmortem report. You can prove all other elements. But the major one is participation. This takes us back to one of the major cases, and it's still standing. It's a landmark case. It is Abdallah Nabuleda and 3 others versus Uganda.
Yes.
That case has major elements on how to place the accused at the scene of the crime. Especially, it refers to issues where there is visual difficultness in producing evidence.
Yes.
Yes. So, referring back to the case of Sechitoreko versus Uganda, it is imperative that during the demonstration of evidence in court, the prosecution must place the accused person at the scene of the crime in order to prove that it is really the accused person who committed death or the offense of murder. Let me leave murder on that.
Yes.
Now, the other best question would be, or the other issue would be, during the trial, if we really get evidence that it is the accused person who caused death,
yes.
However, you cannot prove that death was planned or the killing was planned, but maybe it happened accidentally.
Yes.
What we call accidental death. Or it happened intentionally, but because someone was annoyed and eventually caused harm, which caused death of the other person. But you cannot gather out evidence to get out the mens rea, what we call malice aforethought. Now that leads us to another offense, which is lesser to murder. It is referred to as malice. It is referred to as manslaughter. When you go deep, manslaughter has 2 categories.
Yes.
We have intentional causing of death.